debates over national security funding often reveal deeper political divides in Washington. In this moment on the Senate floor, a Republican senator responds directly to remarks from the Democratic minority leader, focusing on funding for the Department of Homeland Security, an agency created after the September 11 attacks to coordinate the nation's security efforts. At the center of this exchange are competing narratives about immigration policy, government shutdowns, and national safety. As you listen, consider how lawmakers frame these issues and how political messaging shapes the public debate around security and immigration.
Mr. President, I come to the floor this morning having just listened to the minority leader talk about the Department of Homeland Security, which the Democrats once again refuse to fund. How can the minority leader from New York have forgotten about why we have a Department of Homeland Security in the first place? It was set up after 9/11, after the Twin Towers were hit, so that it could never happen again. And yet to sit here and listen to him talk about this component of it or that component, this was a program fundamentally set in place to protect our nation and our citizens from the terror that was rained upon us on 9/11. That's why the entire department was brought together and funded. And now we hear the minority leader, well, he wants to peel off this part and that part and take the department apart as we're trying to protect the country. And he said something about what the American people are wondering. What the American people are wondering today is why the Democrat Party continues to stand up for illegal immigrant criminals against law-abiding citizens. That's what I hear about in Wyoming. Why in the world are Democrats wanting to stand up for illegal immigrant criminals and not hardworking American citizens? So for the last 27 days, the Democrats have shut down the entire Department of Homeland Security, lock, stock, and barrel. TSA agents are missing their paychecks. Our nation's infrastructure is more vulnerable to cyber attacks. There have been 2 attacks by terrorist sympathizers in the last 2 weeks. The minority leader, you listen to his comments, completely out of touch with the American people and what people are worried about all across this country. And there they go again. Here we have it. Less than 5 months ago, Democrats shut down the entire government. Government stayed shut for 43 days. Now we've gotten most of the government funded, but they continue to shut down the Department of Homeland Security for one reason and one reason only, because they want to protect illegal immigrant criminals.
At this point, the speech shifts from describing the purpose of the Department of Homeland Security to making broader political accusations about immigration policy and government funding disputes. In U.S. politics, shutdown threats often emerge during budget negotiations when Congress cannot agree on spending bills. Both parties frequently blame the other for disruptions to government operations. It's also worth noting that immigration enforcement and border security have become highly polarizing issues, especially in recent years. For viewers, an important question is how rhetoric like this shapes public understanding of policy debates. When leaders frame disagreements in stark terms, such as protecting criminals versus protecting citizens, is that clarifying the issue or simplifying a more complex policy dispute?
Listen to what he's saying. Will you listen to the comments by the minority leader? He wants to stand side by side with illegal immigrant criminals, not with the American people. Democrats want to defund law enforcement. They want to abolish ICE. They want to turn our nation into a sanctuary nation. Yesterday, once again, Democrats blocked Republican efforts to reopen the Department of Homeland Security. Now, the White House and Senate Republicans have made offer after offer. We've negotiated in good faith. Democrats in the Senate have not. What we are doing here is critical. It's critical to the safety and the security of our nation. This is what we're doing. We're trying to fund the American Department of Homeland Security. And when this was set up after the 9/11 attacks and the terrorism, what did they want to include in that? TSA, the Coast Guard, Secret Service, America's cyber defenses. It is the department that stops smugglers, drug traffickers, human traffickers. The Department of Homeland Security was created to protect us as a nation. And since 9/11 of 2001, this department has been on the front lines in the fight against terrorism and securing the border. That's the part the Democrats hate. They want an open border. They want people to come in indiscriminately from all around the world. And Joe Biden and the Democrats allowed it, with over 10 million illegal immigrants coming into this country in the 4 years of the Biden administration. The people that work for the Department of Homeland Security, they are the silent heroes of the nation. They're the ones engaged in the battle to keep our communities safe and secure. They shouldn't be forced to miss their paychecks because Democrats continue to choose to play politics. Right now, 50,000 TSA agents all around the country are missing their paycheck. Third time in 6 months, Democrats have forced the TSA agents to work without getting paid. A veteran TSA officer in Phoenix, Arizona was very clear. He said, "We're fed up, we've had enough." And I believe he's right. All Americans are fed up and have had enough of this political posturing and game playing by the Democrats. A CBS News report this week explains what's happening. Absences by TSA agents have doubled since February 14th, when the Democrat-caused shutdown began. More than 300 TSA agents have left the job entirely, and lines at airports continue to grow. In some airports, the lines stretch out of the terminal into the parking lot. Spring break travel is picking up all around the country. Families are paying the price. It's the price of Democrats' political obstruction. Mr. President, it's the same and concerning story with regard to the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. This is the agency put in place after 9/11 under the Department of Homeland Security, the entire department that protects our nation's critical infrastructure, and that includes our energy infrastructure. Since the Democrat shutdown began last month, only 1 in 3 staffers at the agency are working. Why? Because the others have been furloughed because of the Democrat-caused shutdown. And those who are still on the job are working without pay. America is continually under attack in the cyber world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's energy, banking, financial institutions, water, utilities, and our military. After the strikes in Iran, the pace of cyber attacks against us accelerated. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps made their intentions clear. They said, quote, "Americans will no longer have security anywhere in the world, even in their own homes." Imagine the damage that Iran could do if they hacked our critical infrastructure, because they're trying, but because of the Democrat shutdown, and we just heard the minority leader talk about it, the shutdown is continuing, he's saying. Because of that, vulnerability scans are on pause. That shouldn't happen. We need to get these open and running. Protective guidance for our critical networks is not being issued. We need that. Democrats don't seem to care because they want to protect illegal immigrant criminals. And we just heard it from the minority leader of the United States Senate, the senator from New York, who ought to be more concerned than anybody about threats to our nation. Our energy grids, our hospitals, our state and local governments, they are all more exposed. And it's not a question of if the Democrat shutdown is hurting the American people. It is a matter of public record. Democrats are each and every day endangering Americans on the ground, in the skies, and even in cyberspace. The American people expect their government to take our nation's security seriously. Democrats don't seem to be thinking that way at all. The American people expect Congress to fund the agencies that keep them safe, not that keep safe illegal immigrant criminals. And that's what we heard from the minority leader, what we could do differently to protect illegal immigrant criminals, not protect the American people. The American people expect us to pay the people who protect us, who protect our airports, who protect our borders, who protect our networks, who protect our communities. That's what the American people want. They expect us to confront the threats at home and abroad and do it with urgency. Mr. President, the Department of Homeland Security must be funded fully and immediately, and I'm tired of excuses from the Democrats, because that's all they are, excuses. Thank you, Mr. President, and I yield the floor.
Speeches like this illustrate how national security, immigration, and budget negotiations often intersect in U.S. politics. Lawmakers frequently use the Senate floor not only to debate policy but also to send messages to voters about priorities and accountability. The core issue here, funding government agencies while resolving disagreements over immigration enforcement, has triggered repeated political standoffs in Washington over the years. For viewers, the challenge is separating rhetoric from policy detail and understanding the broader legislative process behind these disputes. So, what do you think? Is this a necessary warning about national security risks, or an example of how political battles shape the narrative around immigration and government funding? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you value balanced, fact-based political analysis, don't forget to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe for more in-depth breakdowns of the stories shaping politics and policy today.